So, have you ever heard a saying that says, beauty is in the eye of the beholder? Now, this is what I say to everyone, especially when you're talking about real estate. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I say that because there's a lot of things that you could do when you walk into a house. A lot of the time, you can see that a house is well put together, or there's some things that maybe they rehab the property, but you can see that they use maybe cheaper products or maybe, different colors that you probably wouldn't use. And then there's properties like certain properties that I walk that have, let's just say, red carpet. Houses over 4,100 square feet has red carpet, throughout the entire walking areas, including the restroom. And so when you look at properties like this, you could say, wow, that's a lot of work. Or you could say, wow, that's a lot of possibility, meaning I could potentially, negotiate something because there's going to be a lot of work to be done here. One thing I can say is normally the owner knows there's a lot of work to be done and the buyer knows there's a lot of work to be done. So there could be some negotiations. Now, if you're looking for a long-term property to live in to raise your kids, then great. But I always say I love buying a property where I know there's potentially 50, 100, $200,000 of potential equity gain. Because in my opinion, I feel like if I can live in the property minimum 2 years, that means that if I'm a single female and I live in the primary residence for 2 years, I'm clear to cash out $250,000 without having to pay capital gains if I live in the property minimum 2 years. If you're a married couple and you live in the property minimum of 2 years as your primary residence, you have the ability to potentially have a gain of $500,000 without any capital gains. So that means that you could essentially live in your flip and then sell it and then keep, like, rinse and repeat, so to speak. So I think that with the market currently, a lot of people are kind of a little bit timid to make, the offer on the one property that they know that they have to make or do a lot of changes on. But just think that there will be more negotiating power, knowing that, the owner knows that there's rehab to be done, and that you have to rehab the property. So really take those things into consideration when you're out there looking for homes. Think about, what can I do in order to make this house beautiful? I will also share another tidbit as a investor, as a designer, as all things, right? Back when I first started in this business, I would have to buy chandeliers from like different vendors that were very expensive chandeliers, because there wasn't really any other sources out there to buy, handles, chandeliers, and those types of things. Nowadays, we have Amazon, right? Some of the chandeliers are very comparable to the chandeliers that you would buy at a high-end store, with the exception of the prices so much less than what the higher priced item is, right? So really take into consideration, what are the changes that you can do? What is the bottom line? What is your budget? Are you over budget? Are you under budget? Lighting makes such a big difference in a space. And those are things that I would like to share. Don't get scared about the project. Take the house that's the project, because that's the house that's going to yield you the most profit. Take it from me. I have rinsed and repeated the cycle for the last 13 years as a single mother trying to make it happen. And, gracefully, graciously, I will say that I have cleared, over 6 figures per transaction. And I always say no one's just going to hand you 6 figures because you're cute. So anyway, take that with a grain of salt. I hope that helps. And don't be afraid to get that project home.